So welcome to the chook house version maybe 3. I used to have a shed in another place that I lived at, and it certainly wasn't fox proof, whereas this one I've made it as fox proof as possible. There's a few foxes that live over the back near where I live, but in the whole, this was a piece of furniture. It was at a kid's playhouse that I've turned into a chook house. Now, it's a little bit higher than what it was before. Before, it was on the ground, and when it was a kid's playhouse, it was starting to get eaten by cockatoos on the roof, so it was just about to be thrown out. Then I had a brilliant idea, watched a few YouTube videos, and it actually gave me a whole lot of inspiration to what I need to do to turn this kid's playhouse into a chook house. Now, because it's off the ground, and I took one of the ideas off an American style house, and it does actually look like an American barn and painted in red. But what I wanted to do was get the actual coop or the laying and roosting area off the ground, and it has two effects. When it's raining, the hens like to stand underneath there, and it gives them a bit of protection. So turning this from a kid's playhouse into a chook house, what I've done is taken the basic frame, not even the frame actually, it's just the four sides, and then put stilts up, and then I purposely made the level of where the floor is to actually be the height of the wheelbarrow, so I can bring a wheelbarrow right up to here and then scrape any of the stuff out of the roost into the wheelbarrow. So that makes my life a lot easier. And you can probably see just here, there's sawdust. So I've got about 20 mils of sawdust, and it's called the deep litter method. And what that means is that you only have to clean this out every 3 to 6 months. Now, I do have a couple of different places for them to lay eggs. This one here's from a produce shop, and it is meant to roll off, and then the eggs get collected under here. But for some reason, they don't like using that. At the moment, they've gone for an old box that I've put in here, and they seem to like that. One of the hens that I've got was actually raised inside this box, so maybe there's some connection there to the box. I don't understand that anyway. Now, in terms of the actual roost where they go at night, I used to have bits of thick dowel or even just tree branches, and that used to be okay, but I found that if you just have a square piece of timber, it actually works really well. And what I've done here is I've wrapped it in rope and then glued that rope along. And if you have the roosting bar positioned correctly, you actually find that there's actually no pooping on the bar. They grab hold of the rope, and also apparently what it does is having the rope there allows any mites or just to let a little bit of air circulation under their claws. So it's worked really well, and I've never actually cleaned it. I maybe gave it a spray last time I cleaned this out with some water, but really it's the cleanest roosting bar I've ever had. And if you have multiple layers of roosting bars, sometimes older chickens like to go to the top. It's called the pecking order. And if you're going to do that, and if you have different layers of roosting bars, make sure that the bar underneath isn't in direct aiming of the chicken's bum from the top one. So your last thing you want is the chicken on the bottom level to be pooped on from the top. So give that second bar that's a bit lower some separation. And sometimes you might want to have the second one a little bit lower for some younger chickens so they can integrate into the flock a little bit better. If you have them all on the same level, they can fight a lot, and sometimes they get left out and there's a little bit of blood that gets sprayed around as well. They can be quite vicious to each other. So there's a few little things you have to work on when hosting chickens, things like that, which are just built into their brain that you've just got to accept and deal with. But you can get around some of the things, like even just making your life easier with having a thick layer of sawdust to put in here to actually make your life easier, because by about the end of the first week, you'll actually get a bit of poop on top of the sawdust, but you can just mix that straight in. And the great thing is, having it done this way, there's no smell. Literally 3, even 6 months later, you actually don't smell anything. One good thing about this is I've actually got some ventilation here, so in the summer months I can let some ventilation go through, so that also helps with keeping the smell down as well. Now, in terms of breed, there's a lot of different breeds that you can get in Australia, and I'm talking specifically about Australia. The one I've got here are called the silver lace wyandottes. They're an American breed. They don't lay all year round, and they're not laying in our winter right now, so I don't expect them to start laying until spring, but I have put their wooden box back to see whether they start laying in there, so that's a little bit of an experiment on my behalf. But other breeds I've had in the past, like Campines, Australorps, Rhode Island Reds, and Isa Browns, those basic ones have a really good track record of just laying every single day. Sometimes you even get 2 out of each one of those breeds every single day. So having the right breed, if you want to get eggs every day, is great. And because I'm selling my eggs to the local shops here, I've also just trying to keep everything very clean, hence why I try to use this roll-away egg collector, just to make sure that when they laid it, the egg rolled away and they didn't have access to it. I've got some fake eggs in there too, to try and encourage them to lay in there. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And I didn't even know that it was a thing, that some of the fake eggs actually have a bit of sand in them to keep them up on that ramp so that they don't actually roll down themselves. They will roll down once the chicken's in there, but the fake egg is to point to the direction of where to lay, and that's pretty much, as long as you can get them to do that, it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Now, the thing that happens when you have to sell the eggs, you have to, here in New South Wales, you have to have an egg stamp by the Department of Primary Industries and a few other things, but most of the time the thing that I'm trying to do and be right on top of is having a really clean nesting box and area for the chickens to lay nice clean eggs. I've tried a few different things with water. Tried straight off a tank, but the pressure was too high, and what I've come up with now is just a system where I fill a big barrel, and that barrel just keeps feeding like a cistern type watering system. And I think if you can eliminate some of the things like water, layer pellets, things like that, it makes your job a little easier too, because you don't have to be checking those things every day. Another thing that I've done here in the actual coop is put in a door. So this also just adds a layer of protection from foxes or predators. That you set the time on this one. Some of them are Wi-Fi. This one was about $30 off eBay, and it works really well. I think I've replaced the batteries in it, just AA batteries once, just to make sure it was going to keep operating. But effectively I just close it during the night. The chickens put themselves away, so you don't have to worry about any of that. And having that automatic door actually saves a lot of extra thought about whether they're safe. So I actually leave it a little bit later than sunset because they actually got caught once or twice outside and couldn't get into the nesting area, the roost. So I just leave a little bit of a delay there after last light, and then it comes down. It's a metal door. Had no issues with anything getting in there. Then roughly around about sunrise, a little bit after sunrise, door opens and then they're free to roam. So that's a set and forget thing. And that's a good thing about chickens in whole, is that there's a lot of set and forget. If you've got them penned in and caged in an area like I've got, where I'm actually putting them underneath some fruit trees and around near a patio, I've actually done that purposely because they do fantastic job in bringing down the weeds. So they are great at scratching around, and there's some amazing amount of statistics that they move huge amounts of earth a day if you let them. So if I put even just lawnmower clippings in, I just pile it up and they actually spread it out. So that also helps with keeping down any smells as well. But the thing is to make them work for you. If you don't and let them run free, they will poop everywhere and you've got to go around clean that up all the time, which is a pain. But also they might get into your veggies or plants that you do want to keep and you don't want to be attacked all the time. Even the grass, if you've got a small area of grass, they'll just mow that down to ground zero. And sometimes that's good, like where I've got them near my patio. There's all these weird weeds that come in. And since I've let them into that area and fenced them off, it's completely weed free. So they're doing the weeding for me. So if you can make them work for you, make them do what you want, where you want, they're perfect. If you let them go free, expect to have some troubles. And then the end of the day, you can throw them kitchen scraps and you've got eggs at the next day. So how good is that? Everything's pretty positive. They've got a lot of things built into their brain that is just been evolved over time. So they know when it's dark to get somewhere high. A lot of things inside the chicken's brain is programmed in, and if you have the right facility that is set up properly, it actually allows you to do almost no work, but it goes into tune with what they know and how they operate. So if you play along with what they know and what they're expecting, like for instance, when it's dark, they know to go high. So if they've got a spot to go to that's high and safe, they'll go and do that. They have their bum up and head down. That's just how they're built. They're scratching around all day, eating all sorts of things, bugs, worms. The lady behind me has some bees, and apparently the beetles that can affect some beehives. I'm not exactly sure on what beetle that is. Apparently the chickens here have been bringing that beetle population down as well. So there's a benefit. They will eat a lot of worms and bugs. And one of the things too, when I introduced the smaller chicken, it spent most of its day just preening itself. And I was a little concerned about that. And then I tried to introduce it to the other chickens and it got rejected. So I had to be very careful about how I introduced a smaller chicken to older chickens. But I think having the space, once I let them run a little bit further around, actually helped because it gave somewhere for the smaller chicken to escape to. But one of the good things about integrating younger chickens with older chickens is that now that younger chicken has learnt how to scratch around, and she didn't know how to do that, and now she's following what the older chickens are doing, and now she's just got into that rhythm of what a normal chicken does. So there's a lot of things that they learn off each other, but there's also a lot of things that are just built into their brain that they just somehow know exactly what to do. And if you tap into that, you can get eggs every day.